Good day to each and everyone. I am Regiboy Awitin Huesca, presenting the Magna Carta for Public School Teachers of June 18, 1966, also known as the Republic Act No. 4670. The Declaration of Policy RA 4670, Magna Carta for Public School Teachers, promote and improve the social and economic status of public school teachers, their living and working conditions, their terms of employment, and career prospects. Compare favorably with existing opportunities in other walks of life, and attract and retain in the teaching profession more people with the proper qualifications. Recruitment and career. Minimum educational qualifications for teacher applicants. Teachers in kindergarten and elementary grades, bachelor's degree in elementary education, BSEED, and teachers in the secondary schools, bachelor's degree in education or its equivalent with a major and a minor, or a bachelor's degree in arts or science with at least 18 professional units in education. Teachers of courses on the collegiate level other than vocational, master's degree with a specific area of specialization, and teachers of secondary vocational and 2 years technical courses, bachelor's degree in the field of specialization with at least 18 professional units in education. The school superintendent may appoint under a temporary status applicants who do not meet the minimum qualifications provided. A. Teacher applicants are required to take competitive examinations. B. Preference in making appointments shall be in the order of their respective ranks in the competitive examinations. And C. The results of examinations shall be made public and every applicant shall be furnished with his or her score and rank in the said examination. Probationary period. No probationary period preceding regular appointment shall be imposed if the teacher possesses the appropriate civil service eligibility. However, if due to the exigencies of service, it is necessary to employ as teacher a person who possesses the minimum educational qualifications but lacks the appropriate civil service eligibility. He or she shall be appointed on a provisional status and shall undergo a period of probation for not less than 1 year from and after the date of his or her provisional appointment. Tenure of office. Stability on employment and security of tenure shall be assured to the teacher as provided under existing laws. Teachers appointed on a provisional status shall be extended permanent appointment after having rendered at least 10 years of continuous, efficient, and faithful service in such position. Consent of transfer or transportation. No teacher shall be transferred without his or her consent. However, in the exigencies of service, which requires the teachers to transfer from one station to another, may be affected by the school superintendent, who shall notify the teacher concerned and the reasons of transfer. If the teacher believes there is no justification for the transfer, he or she may appeal the case to the Director of Public Schools or the Director of Vocational Education, as the case may be. No transfers shall be made 3 months before any local or national election. Necessary transfer expenses of the teacher and his or her family shall be paid for by the government if the transfer is finally approved. Code of Professional Conduct for Teachers. If for reason of inadequate fiscal resources, copies of the same code shall be deposited to the office of the school principal of head teacher where they may be accessible for use by the teacher. Safeguards in disciplinary procedures. Every teacher shall enjoy equitable safeguards at each stage of any disciplinary procedures and shall have the right to be informed in writing of the charges, the right to full access to the evidence in the case, the right to defend him or herself and to defend by a representative of his or her choice and or by his or her organization, and shall be given adequate time for the preparation of his or her defense, and the right to appeal to clearly designated authorities. No publicity shall be given to any disciplinary action being taken against a teacher during a pendency of his or her case. Administrative charges. Administrative charges against a teacher shall be heard initially by a committee composed of corresponding school superintendent of the division or a duly authorized representative who should at least have the rank of a division supervisor where the teacher belongs as a chairman, a representative of the local or in its absence, any existing provincial or national teachers organization, and a supervisor of the division. The committee shall submit its findings and recommendations to the Director of Public Schools within 30 days from the termination of the hearings. If, however, the school superintendent is the complainant or an interested party, all the members of the committee shall be appointed by the Secretary of Education. No discrimination. There shall be no discrimination whatsoever in entrance to the teaching profession, or during its exercise, or in termination of services, based on other than profession consideration. Married teachers. Whenever possible, the proper authorities shall take all steps to enable married couples, both of whom are public school teachers, to be employed in the same locality. Academic freedom. Teachers shall enjoy academic freedom in the discharge of their professional duties, particularly with regard to teaching and classroom methods. Hours of work and remuneration. Teaching hours. Any teacher engaged in actual classroom instruction shall not be required to render more than 6 hours of actual classroom teaching a day, which shall be so scheduled as to give him or her time for preparation and correction of exercises and other work incidental to his or her normal teaching duties. However, in the exigencies of service, any teacher may be required to render more than 6 hours but not exceeding 8 hours of actual classroom teaching a day upon payment of additional compensation at the same rate as his or her regular remuneration plus at least 25% of his or her basic pay. Additional compensation. Notwithstanding any provision of existing law to the contrary, co-curricular and out-of-school activities and any other activities outside of what is defined as normal duties of any teacher shall be paid an additional compensation of at least 25% of his or her regular remuneration after 6 hours of actual classroom teaching a day. In the case of other teachers or school officials not engaged in actual classroom instruction, any work performed in excess of 8 hours a day shall be paid in an additional compensation of at least 85% of the regular remuneration. The agencies utilizing the services of teachers shall pay the additional compensation required. Education authorities shall refuse to allow the rendition of services of teachers for other government agencies without the assurance that teacher shall be paid the remuneration provided. Criteria for salaries. Teacher salary shall correspond to the following criteria. A. They shall compare favorably with those paid in other occupations, requiring equivalent or similar qualifications, training, and abilities. B. They shall be such as to ensure teachers a reasonable standard of life for themselves and their families. And C. They shall be properly graded so as to recognize the fact that certain positions require higher qualifications and greater responsibility than others. Equality in salary scales. The salary scales of teachers whose salaries are appropriate by a city, municipal district, or provincial government shall not be less than those provided for teachers of the national government. Cost of living allowance. Teacher salaries shall, at the very least, keep pace with the rise in the cost of living by the payment of a cost of living allowance which shall automatically follow changes in a cost of living index. Special hardship allowances. In areas in which teachers are exposed to hardship such as difficulty in commuting to the place of work or other hazards peculiar to the place of employment, as determined by the Secretary of Education, they shall be compensated special hardship allowances equivalent to at least 25% of their monthly salary. Health measures and injury benefits. Medical examination and treatment. Compulsory medical examination shall be provided free of charge for all teachers before they take up teaching and shall be repeated not less than once a year during the teacher's professional life. Where medical examination showed that medical treatment and or hospitalization is necessary, same shall be provided free by the government entity paying the salary for the teachers. In regions where there is scarcity of medical facilities, teachers may obtain elsewhere the necessary medical care with the right to be reimbursed for their traveling expenses by the government entity concerned. Compensation for injuries. Teachers shall be protected against the consequence of employment injuries in accordance with existing laws. The effects of the physical and nervous strain on the teacher's health shall be recognized as a compensable occupational disease in accordance with existing laws. Leave and retirement benefits. Study leave. In addition to the leave privileges now enjoyed by teachers in the public schools, they shall be entitled to study leave not exceeding 1 school year after 7 years of service. During the period of such leave, the teachers shall be entitled to at least 6% of their monthly salary. No teacher shall be allowed to accumulate more than 1 year study leave unless he needs an additional semester to finish his thesis for a graduate study in education or allied courses. The compensation allowed for 1 year study leave shall be subject to the condition that the teacher takes the regular study load and passes at least 75% of his courses. Study leave of more than 1 year may be permitted by the Secretary of Education but without compensation. Indefinite leave. An indefinite sick leave of absence shall be granted to teachers when the nature of the illness demands a long treatment that will exceed 1 year at the least. Salary increase upon retirement. Public school teachers, having fulfilled the age and service requirements of the applicable retirement laws, shall be given one range salary raise upon retirement, which shall be the basis of the computation of the lump sum of the retirement pay and the monthly benefits thereafter. Teachers' organization. Freedom to organize. Public school teachers shall have the right to freely and without previous authorization both to establish and to join organizations of their choosing, whether local or national, to further and defend their interests. National Teachers Organizations. National teachers' organizations shall be consulted in the formulation of national education policies and professional standards, and in the formulation of national policies governing the social security of the teachers. Administration and enforcement. Rules and regulation. The Secretary of Education shall formulate and prepare the necessary rules and regulations to implement the provisions of this Act. Rules and regulations issued pursuant to this section shall take effect 30 days after publication in a newspaper of general circulation and by such other means as the Secretary of Education deems reasonably sufficient to give interested parties general notice of such issuance. Budgetary estimates. The Secretary of Education shall submit to Congress annually the necessary budgetary estimates to implement the provisions of the Act concerning the benefits herein granted to public school teachers under the employ of the national government. Penal provision. A person who shall willfully interfere with, restrain, or coerce any teacher, or who shall in any other manner commit any act to defeat any of the provisions of this Act shall, upon conviction, be punished by a fine of not less than 100 pesos nor more than 1,000 pesos, or by imprisonment in the discretion of the court. End of my presentation. Thank you for watching.